the Array tool. To get to the Array tool, you go under your drawing workflow, under your home ribbon, under the manipulate group. So in this very last row, the very top tool, it's called Array. Left click on it to accept it. Of course, here you have several different methods. You have rectangular, polar, and a long path. We'll leave it set to rectangular for now. Of course, you can set an angle if you want to array the item at an angle. You can set the number of rows and columns. Maybe I want to change my number of rows to 3 and my columns to 2. Then of course you have your row spacing. If you know what your spacing is, you can just enter it in. I'm going to enter in 7 for mine for the spacing and the column. If you didn't know the distance, you do have this measure tool, and it will go out and measure a distance. If I left click on it, I'll show you what it does. It's going to want you to define a start point. So I'm just going to left click out here somewhere. Now you can see when I drag my mouse, it's creating this construction line. If I left click to end it, it's going to enter that distance in the row spacing. That's not what I want. I'm just going to change it back to 7. Hit enter. If I have everything set up and I'm ready to array an item, just go out and identify the element. I'm going to array this block out here. I'm going to left click on it to select it. It's going to give you kind of a picture of how it's going to array. If that's not what you want, you can always go back and switch it real quick. So maybe instead of 3 rows, I want 2 rows and 3 columns. That looks a little bit better. If that's what I'm looking for, just go out and left click to accept it. And it did my rectangular array. I'm going to pan over, get to the next array type, which is the polar array. I'm going to go back up to my array tool. This time I'm going to set my method to polar. Maybe I want to make 7 copies this time. My angle will be 45 degrees. And we'll come back to this rotate items here in a second. Now all I need to do is go out and identify the element I want to array. So maybe I want to array this rectangle around this circle. So I'm just going to go out and select that rectangle. Now when I drag it out, you can see it's trying to array that item, but it's not rotating the item as I array it around the circle. You can kind of tell from the example. If I want to rotate the items, I'll check on that box over in the construct array tool. Now when I go out and array it, you can see it's trying to turn that rectangle as it's going around that circle. If that's what I want, I'll just snap to the center of that circle, left click to accept it, and I've arrayed that rectangle around that circle with the polar array option. If I go ahead and pan over to the next block, it's a long path array. I'll go back up to my array tool. I'm going to change my method from polar to a long path. You can see once you change that, you have some different options in here. You have some different modes. You have number, distance, and both. We'll go over each of these. And you have the number of copies. And of course, you can rotate the items. On this example, it really won't do much because it's a circle. But if they were rectangles or something, it would rotate those items as it goes around the path. So I'm going to leave the mode set to number for this option. Maybe I'll change the number of copies to 10. And the rotate items, I'll just check that off for now. You should know how that works by now. Now it's going to want me to go out and identify the element. I'm going to identify the circle. Left click on to accept it. Now it wants to know the path start point. I'm going to come in here and snap where that circle and the larger circle meet. So I'm going to left click to accept it. And now as I drag my mouse around that path, you can see it's trying to space those Of course, if you had something to snap to, you could. I'm just going to dynamically drop it off. Left click to accept it. And it's created those 10 filled circles along that path. I'm going to do an undo. This time I'm going to change my mode from number to distance. So now I can set a distance. Maybe I want a distance of 10. I'll go out and identify my element again. I'm going to select that filled circle. And I'm going to select that bigger circle where it meets that little filled circle. Left click to accept it. So now as I drag my mouse around that circle, you can see every 10 feet it's trying to place the circle. Once I get to where I want it, just probably right down here, you can see the little dots. I'm going to left click to accept it. It's going to place those filled circles along that path at 10 feet. I'm going to do one more undo. I'm going to change my mode from distance to both. So now I can set my number of copies and my distance. So maybe I want 10 copies, maybe 1 foot. I'll enter those. Go out and identify my element again. Identify the start of the path again, which is going to be that circle. Left click to accept it. Looks like 1 foot may be a little too close. So I'm going to change that before I accept that. Maybe I'll change it to 3 feet. Now you can see it's trying to create 10 circles 3 feet apart. If that's what I want. Left click to accept it. And there's my array along path. And those are the 3 different modes of a long path.